A high-end boutique manager believed she could bring shame upon Sandra Bullock, constantly appearing too relaxed, never considering the potential presence of. She was confronting, but then Keanu Reeves entered and then proceeded to left everyone astonished, and you'll be amazed. Contemplate the conclusion of this tale. What followed then escalated into a scandal. Someone observed, before we proceed with this narrative, let us know your viewing location, and if you find yourself captivated by tales like this, consider subscribing. Heading to the channel, as tomorrow we're scheduled to. Here's another unique tale for your enjoyment. The boutique Eloise Paris was so much more than simply. It was a sanctuary for the elite, a realm where everyday individuals resided. Its discreet facade hid a lack of welcome. A luxuriously appointed interior featuring genuine, luxurious leather seating, imported rugs, and racks showcasing unique items from celebrated designer brands permeated every aspect of existence. Unique allure derived from the woody fragrance, remaining suspended in the air like the champagne, catered exclusively to the appropriate clientele. The smooth, instrumental jazz music fills the air. The background softly hinted, as if to say, if you have to inquire about the cost, this establishment is not suitable. You and the one who made these unseen. The regulations remained in effect in Helena at the boutique. Her gaze, wielded by the manager, was piercingly intense. She was incredibly perceptive. Nothing went unnoticed by her. If someone deemed unworthy stepped into the store, she would identify them instantly. Her attire is black and impeccably tailored. Fashion designer, renowned for high heels and flawless craftsmanship. Postures weren't merely stylistic decisions. They constituted a defense she had no intention of offering for sale. The garments she was offering reflected her social standing, and she would safeguard the boutique's standing firm, reputation above all else. The gentle chime of. As a woman approached the doorbell chimed. To any other boutique, she wouldn't go. Had remained unobserved, she wore a basic white sweatshirt, paired with unadorned sweatpants and a dark hat that shadowed her partially. Her brown hair was styled in a relaxed manner. Her bun and the sunglasses protected her eyes, hindering the ability of anyone to understand her true nature. But within this high-end store, showcasing luxury and opulence, were the sole recognized languages for her. Right away became apparent, and not in a positive way, in a manner that Helena, who had been making adjustments to, a diamond necklace adorning one of the VIPs. Clients paused, her stare holding them captive for a moment. Fixing her gaze on the newcomer, she didn't. Even a tourist needs to contemplate this. The women who happened to stroll in, maybe try to discreetly snap a few pictures, and finally depart without making a purchase. And that was strictly forbidden for her. Discreetly, Helena moved to the front and headed for the entrance. Clara, observing intently, I already had a sense of what was imminent, and the spectators who felt the weight of the truth, knowing injustice was real. With careful consideration, Sandra surveyed the shelves, and she presents her fingers with a slow, deliberate grace, caressed the fine textures of. She adored fashion, particularly the unique and exclusive items. She consistently possessed it, yet held the game in utter disdain. Some individuals engaged in displays of dominance. Is there anything I can assist you with? Helena's voice inquired. Despite her polite demeanor, she carried fundamental. Sandra shifted her gaze to the towering figure. Perfect woman. Oh, thank you so much. Helena simply stated, I'm just looking. She smiled, though her choice was already made. I wanted to let you know that we have exclusively handcrafted, bespoke creations. Nothing is exhibited hereby. Reword the slightly patronizing tone. Unmistakably conveyed a distinct message. This location is. Sandra firmly shut her lips, refusing to speak. Combined subtly, I envision it's probably not. Helena subtly inclined her head, her gaze fixed. Perhaps she was taken aback by the reply. She pondered the clue and decided it was time to depart. But Sandra lingered as though, pushing the manager to their breaking point, she went as far as, for a dress hanging on the rack, exceptionally unique item from the latest collection, bearing a cost that was accessible to only a privileged minority, could and scrutinized it thoroughly that was sufficient to drive Helena to lose her patience. She quickly spun around and indicated, privately to Clara, who remained. Hesitantly, Clara lingered by the counter. Ma'am, please monitor that woman, though I'm curious as to why. Helena let out a sigh, as though the explanation. It should be clear to Clara that she could potentially cause harm. The experiences of our actual users. Clara remained silent, but a feeling stirred within her. Her discomfort twisted, feeling deeply wrong. The customer felt like she was being evaluated, and Sandra had no clue what would happen next. Remained browsing the store at a leisurely pace. However, the stares were pointed toward her now. Heightened, two high-profile clients conversed quietly amongst themselves. Did you happen to notice that woman sitting on one of the couches? How did she manage to enter wearing only a hoodie? And she appears to be a bewildered tourist, lost and alone. Sandra couldn't quite make out the murmurs. To perceive their presence, though she couldn't hear them, it's always the same old game. Yet Sandra preferred not to respond right away. On the contrary, Helena was observed while waiting. She felt it was time to bring this to a close. She didn't wish to continue any longer. Her discerning clientele's feelings, disquieted by the prospect of a female president, who was undoubtedly out of place, so choosing a more straightforward approach, she walked, moved with resolute strides, and halted beside. Sandra, ma'am, she stated, her voice impeccably. I observed your practiced smile, and I noticed your fondness for it. Sandra, having donned her dress, turned to. Undeterred, yes, it's stunning, I concur, but maybe I have an idea that aligns more closely with your style. Sandra. Helena's expression conveyed surprise. Her eyebrows arched in a manner that spoke volumes about my style. A smile lingered, though her stance became rigid. Absolutely, we also offer some more relaxed options. Something that could potentially evoke a stronger feeling in you. Clara found comfort in observing from a distance. Her heart pounded. Helena had been sighted. Attempt this previously, but with a new twist this time. Sandra's approach was unique. She offered a smile, recognizing the smile you believe I wouldn't possess. At ease in Helena, she blinked, astonished for the second time this day. There was something about the way this woman looked that triggered a little alarm bell went off inside me. I simply meant that. You believe I can't manage to pay for it? The question was asked in a composed and restrained manner, but the consequences were utterly catastrophic. Staff averted their gazes, feigning disinterest, reshuffled the shelves for the esteemed client. Ceased speaking, now attending to. Complete stillness enveloped Clara, her breath caught in her chest. Helena, though, would refuse to be. Not at all, ma'am. I felt no intimidation whatsoever. Merely proposing something additional. Sandra attentively examined her for appropriateness. For a moment, and then she took an action that no one. She anticipated a soft, controlled laugh. However, as laughter escaped her lips, Helena felt a shiver run down her spine. Along her spine, I perceived gratitude for the. Sandra persisted in her exploration. The shop, and then, almost as if to confirm, Helena's perseverance was evident as she reached for a sophisticated garment crafted from silk. Helena's gaze lingered on the excessively high price. He focused on her the second she appeared. Measured breaths preceding a step towards. Sandra maintained her composure, her steps measured and deliberate. Came to a halt right next to her, taking her in with his gaze, and gazed intently downwards, as though inspecting something. Unpleasant, yet a smile graced Helena's lips, but it was a phony, venomous, and condescending smirk. Are you certain you wish to try that on? Sandra lifted her eyebrows, but Helena didn't reply right away, persisting in denying her an opportunity to. What I'm getting at with the question is that this specific design necessitates a particular stance, exudes a grace that enhances its inherent grace, and naturally, her eyes lingered on the perfect accessories, hidden subtly on Sandra's loose sweatshirt. Subsequently, on the black cap obscuring a portion of her visage, and at last Helena exclaimed, peacefully entertained. I might have a suggestion that's a bit more fitting. Tailored to your profile, the assault. Sandra grasped it instantly, as it was clearly stated, and a small smile touched her lips as she realized now. She was certain Helena remained oblivious to the identity of. Although she was hesitant, she yearned to observe nonetheless. The extent of this manager's actions, as far as Sandra was concerned, was. She paused, her gaze fixed on the dress for a moment before turning away. To Helena, and precisely what actions did you take? What I mean is that Helena's smile remained steadfast, yet her eyes sparkled with a suggestion of the excellence of this type of work is simply that was created with the discerning woman in mind who knows how to. Sandra's expression darkened as she observed women who possessed that knowledge. Helena maintained her stare, pondering the proper way to wear it. Absolutely, women who comprehend the elegance and refinement of haute couture. Acknowledge the cuts she created in the fabrics. A hazy hand movement from her that didn't. I'm seeking clarification on the worth of a. Sandra, adorned in this attire, took a deep breath. She was accustomed to being treated with disdain in her breath, akin to a Hollywood celebrity, but presently in this, she was treated with utter disregard in that place. And that encapsulated Helena entirely. Without diverting her gaze, she inquired, do you think? I'm unclear on why Helena's smile widened. I believe some individuals misinterpret it as being slightly broader. This boutique is unlike any ordinary store, Sandra. Helena let out a tiny, amused chuckle. Disregard is palpable, leaving no room for doubt. You believe I have no place here. With a pretense of curiosity, she inquired of Helena. Acted guileless, no, I'd never utter such a thing. However, she smiled once more, her expression shifting as she. A few of our clients may have their heads slightly tilted. Since, now that the attack was explicit, discomfort was unavoidable. Helena was explicitly stating that you ought not to. Your presence here creates people. Uncomfortably, Sandra pressed her lips together. They stood together briefly, and then she released them. With a soft sigh, I realized Helena believed she. She believed that if Sandra had one, she would depart. Ashamed, yet something surprising then occurred. As Sandra looked directly at Helena, an event occurred. With a gaze in the eye and a voice unervingly serene, she uttered the single statement that accomplished the entire boutique is frozen in a state of humorous disbelief. Upon my arrival, no one extended a greeting to me. The quiet of the boutique, punctuated only by the clinking of champagne glasses. The assistant's conversation was so loud, it was overwhelming. The VIP client paused their conversation. It was common knowledge that significant clients. We were greeted with a celebratory glass of champagne. However, Sandra Bullock received no compensation from Helenas. His face blanched for a fleeting instant, but she swiftly attempted to regain composure over that. It must have been a blunder, of course I can. Have a glass delivered to you promptly. Sandra's smile didn't convey friendliness. A smile wasn't necessary. Her voice, though gentle, sufficed. As keen as a razor, I've witnessed it before. All that I required to witness at that time previously. Sandra looked to Helena, awaiting her response. Clara, a youthful assistant who had been, have you been quietly observing everything this whole time? I think this dress would flatter me. Clara. She paused, her eyes shifting from Sandra to Helena. Inhaled deeply, and responded affirmatively, stating that it would indeed appear. Astonishingly, Helena sensed the earth beneath her, vanished beneath her soles, and in that instant, the instant she grasped the horrifying truth, Helena had lost her control. Despite her belief that she was in command, but Helena teetered on the brink of losing it all. I was astonished by that woman in her. Black cap and a white sweatshirt were rejected to depart, and even more concerningly, she was beginning to initiate a comeback, first showcasing fearless determination to challenge her with that pointed remark regarding the champagne, and lastly, Clara, even her own assistant, had the audacity to challenge her publicly. Her grasp on control was waning, and Helena simply couldn't tolerate. Defeated, she resorted to her greatest strength. Helena, after being attacked, advanced with a step, summoned a frosty, deliberate smile. Given your strong interest in that dress, I could have one of our sales representatives assist you in the fitting room there. An undeniable air of contempt in her. Speak as though she were stating if you demand you humiliate yourself, I'll pay close attention to your actions. Sandra grasped the concept right away, but before she had a chance to reply, Helena turned. Please, Clara, accept this. Take it to the fitting room to try it on and see if we. Sandra ensured the size was suitable. She instantly understood the meaning behind the raised eyebrow. The phrasing implied Helena was delicately implying that Sandra lacked the appropriate physique for the dress she wore, lacked the necessary refinement. So she wasn't. A shiver of unease ran through Clara as she looked out at the world. A heavy silence settled over her, prickling along her spine. Within the boutique, a few high-profile clients wore knowing smiles. Subtly, rather than because they truly thought it was amusing, but since the humiliation scene was reaching a peak of brilliance. To avert her gaze, Sandra inhaled deeply, and with arms crossed, she remained still. She clutched the dress, her gaze sweeping the surroundings. Now the stairs weren't solely a burden she carried. Additionally, on Helena, certain clients presented themselves to savor the sight, though others may not, appeared uneasy, as they were aware that if this woman was experiencing this kind of treatment, any one of them could suffer the same fate. Helena understood this, yet her pride remained, refused to allow her to cease. Instead, she intensified her efforts. She started, "Ma'am," in a way that wasn't quite sincere. In a relaxed manner, we offer a more budget-friendly option. Maybe there are 3 blocks away from this location. It will be simpler to locate something that aligns more with your style. The blow was. Even Clara, taken aback by the severity, held her breath at Sandra's words. You let out a low, doubtful chuckle. Why don't you recommend I check out a more affordable store? Helena stood her ground. I simply believe certain clients desire something additional. Comfortable and practical. A smile graced her lips and subsequently uttered the concluding statement that sealed her destiny, for ultimately, all extravagance is. The silence that ensued was all-encompassing, was so loud it overwhelmed even the VIP guests. Was unsure how to respond to the sales figures. Clara's nervousness made the assistants avert their gazes. Sandra experienced a sinking feeling in her stomach, keeping grinning, but the smile wasn't genuine this time. It was a smile that was both friendly and threatening. Subsequently, she took an unanticipated action. She grabbed the dress and gracefully floated over her, raised his arm, and began walking towards the. Helena furrowed her brow, questioning, "What are you?" Sandra abruptly halted her progress right in front of. She gazed at the cash register, signed up, and then her gaze fixed directly on. Helena, I'll accept the whole boutique. Helena exhaled, releasing the breath she had been holding. Sandra chuckled dismissively and nodded in agreement. Ultimately, luxury might not be a suitable fit for all individuals. She removed her sunglasses, Helena, I'm certain it's intended for me. One, as she comprehended at that instant. One high-profile client exclaimed in surprise. Another gasped, exclaimed in disbelief, "Oh my God," with a hushed tone of shock. Now that the sunglasses are gone, everyone. Sandra Bullock was acknowledged. A Hollywood celebrity, among the most influential females within the film industry, a woman who, a fortune exceeding $250 million, Helena experienced the sensation of the earth vanishing beneath her. The color leached from the ground beneath her. Her visage, and in that very moment, terror gripped her. Her body, which had recently been the subject of public attention, was shamed one of the most renowned actresses globally and currently the entire world. Within the boutique, they were aware of it, and subsequently, the doors of the boutique swung open once more. What followed was something completely unexpected, something no one could have foreseen. Never will I forget Helena, frozen with wide, unblinking eyes, focused intently on Sandra Bullock. The shock hadn't quite grasped yet that she had just brought shame upon one of the most renowned women globally, and presently everyone. The boutique was aware that its VIP clients were stunned. The sales assistants were left without words. Clara hesitated, holding her breath, acutely aware of that something of greater magnitude was imminent occur, and subsequently, the boutique doors swung open once more. A gentle chime resonated, but this instance the acoustics seemed altered, and his steps carried a new weight as he walked. The boutique's activity ceased altogether. He entered the store, his breath filling his lungs. Measured and resolute strides, Keanu Reeves. Long black coat shifted subtly as he adjusted his slightly disheveled hair, which gave him a look that seemed effortless, yet his eyes weren't astonished since he had already understood precisely what had transpired here, and he had his target in mind without a doubt. Despite his uncertainty, he entered the boutique. Without sparing a glance for anyone else, Helena sensed her body stiffen among the VIP clientele. Their mouths were covered in stunned silence, Clara included. He took a deep breath, and then Keanu halted, directly before Sandra and without. He enveloped her in a tight embrace, uttering a single word. Truly experienced the embrace of something long desired. Sandra returned his embrace, holding him close with a gentle hug. A smile crept onto Helena's lips, and she felt the ground vanish from beneath her feet. One was able to comprehend the unfolding events, as it wasn't solely Sandra Bullock anymore. It was Keanu Reeves, and he had recently welcomed her with the warmth of a long-lost friend. It's been far too long, he muttered, pulling Sandra. He shifted back a bit to get a better look at her. Grinned. Keanu was there for far too extended a period, and then he glanced. He surveyed the boutique thoroughly. At last, their gazes locked, and Helena felt her body stiffened, as if seized by an icy grip at that precise moment. Keanu Reeves possessed a clear understanding of what had. It was evident here, requiring no further inquiry from him. Upon seeing Sandra's expression, he had perceived the stress level among the sales assistants. He had observed Clara's anxious demeanor. Gaze, and subsequently Keanu shifted his gaze back to Sandra and began to speak. With a calm voice, yet laced with biting irony, I expressed my hope that they had treated you kindly. The effect was immediate for the VIP clientele. Helena Clara cast a quick look at bid her lower. With lips tightly pressed together, the sales assistant stood. Their respiration, since everyone was aware that Sandra Bullock was the answer, was left feeling deeply ashamed, and now Keanu Reeves. Helena, realizing it as well, attempted to open. Words attempted to form in her mouth, but no sound emerged. She was completely immobilized. As her words held no weight, the harm had already been inflicted. Sandra. She let out a soft, gentle chuckle and looked. Helena looked directly into his eyes, and then she quietly replied, "Oh yes, indeed they were." The words were utterly unforgettable, akin to a blade slicing through Helena's flesh as they weren't uttered with anger. They were simply spoken. Helena was utterly sure that she felt. She longed to speak, her face burning with the desire to express herself. She felt compelled to speak, but there were no remaining justifications, no escape possible. And then, the absolute worst imaginable thing occurred one of the high-profile clients, adorned in impeccable attire. A blonde woman addressed one of the salespeople. Helpers and whispered softly, just loud enough for all to hear should they treat. Sandra Bullock envisions this, pondering how the boutique made the rest of us feel. The effect of those utterances and in that moment. In that instant, Helena grasped the essence of her professional path. The standing she had cultivated. The structure, years in the making, was on the verge of collapse and, suddenly, Helena's phone buzzed with a notification. What followed was an event she had never experienced before. I could have foreseen Helena experiencing the. All eyes were upon her, their weight palpable. She took a deep breath, composing herself before reacting. Miss Bullock offered a polite smile, then cleared her throat. Her voice trembled in her throat, and I was completely clueless. Sandra folded her arms, her gaze fixed on him, wondering who he truly was. That ought to be a sufficient reason for something, Helena. She attempted to speak, but no words came out. As she became aware for the very first time, she sounded utterly absurd. No, Helena. Attempting to retrieve it proved to be an error. Misinterpretation led Keanu to raise an eyebrows subtly raised. A misinterpretation of the boutique appeared to. He held his breath, his voice hushed, but bore the force of a sledgehammer. Helena took a deep breath before swallowing. Gasping for air, desperately seeking to recover. I simply aimed to confirm our. Sandra's experience was a carefully chosen one. A hushed chuckle. Ah, so now you understand. Determine who is worthy of respect. Helena's breath caught in her throat. She knew. Despite her loss, she remained unacquainted with the full extent of it. Keanu observed silently, not saying a word. However, his countenance left no doubt, just as had. The sales assistants have not been provided with. He regarded Helena with newfound respect. Her VIP clientele no longer held her in high regard. Her once thriving boutique, now her kingdom in name only, felt like. As she sat in her cage, her phone buzzed once more, and she knew. At the opposite end of the connection, the proprietor of the boutique had previously observed her career was decimated by the videos, leaving her in a state of utter ruin. Exhausted, Helena had no more fight left in her. She merely bowed her head because there was no recourse left for her. And then, Helena got the message that was going to ensure Helena's destiny is irrevocably sealed. Held her phone, her hands shaking on. A notification appeared on the screen, originating from Helena, the proprietor of the boutique. This is a serious matter that requires us to talk. Instantly, her heart raced, but just before, her response could have been different. Something else had occurred. A prominent client abruptly rose from their seat, seized her high-end handbag, and stated, "I'm not a fan of shopping at stores that abuse their clients. I'm departing," and she exited without a backward glance. Helena took a deep breath, her realization dawning upon her that she was facing more than just the loss of Sandra Bullock. And due to Keanu Reeves' admiration for her, she was experiencing the loss of everyone, followed by yet another departure. The client would rise if this situation occurred to her. It could befall any one of us. A whisper began among the sales assistants. Shared looks at the boutique, which was once her domain, now felt isolated in a manner reminiscent of a courtroom. Helena stood alone, and then Clara struck the final, decisive blow. Drew in a deep breath, not bothering to glance. Helena personally shut down her boutique. I fastened the name tag and put it down on the counter. No longer able to work here. The shock is overwhelming. Clara's visage was instantly reflected in Helena's. The voice emerged softly, almost in a supplicating tone, but The young assistant acted without a moment's deliberation. She then addressed Sandra and Keanu and proceeded to, "An unforeseen occurrence. Would you like me to escort you both to the exit, Sandra?" Of course, she smiled, and then entered the boutique. The door swung open once more, and the manager, who formerly took pride in making decisions about those who had a place and those who didn't now found themselves in. An eerie quiet descended as everyone filed out. Though she was already in trouble, the worst of it was still ahead. And Helena hadn't anticipated what would transpire next. In the meantime, on the opposite side, Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves, a celebrated duo from the film world, are known for their captivating on-screen chemistry. The Reeves were enjoying a peaceful moment at a quaint cafe. Clara, now having previously worked as a boutique assistant. In their company, she still appeared somewhat. Feeling inundated, Sandra took a sip. She took a sip of her coffee and gazed at the youth. "So, Clara, what are your plans moving forward?" Hesitantly, I shrugged. "I'm not sure, maybe. I'll search for something fresh in a different place." "He actually has the capacity to learn and develop," Keanu smiled. "As it happens, I'm acquainted with a handful of individuals who might be able to assist with that." Clara expanded her. Sandra's smile was truly captivating. We liked it very much. Assisting those who were deserving of it, and Sandra's phone buzzed with a new message. She opened the letter from her friend and delved into its contents. Out loud, the boutique manager has been. The video, now subject to an official termination, has reached a view count of 20. With 1 million views, Sandra's gaze fell upon Keanu, and they shared a glance that spoke volumes, and then she uttered the concluding phrases that would end this narrative. Continuously, some individuals believe that luxury is power, but true power lies in understanding how to show respect to others. Keanu nodded. Clara grinned, and her smile stretched across the city like a. In a hushed apartment, Helena embarked on her learning journey. They learned that lesson the difficult way, realizing status wasn't. Throughout eternity, the world's judgment shall endure. Rapid, merciless, and above all else, dignity was essential to the experience of luxury. It held no value without it. If you like this tale, we have plenty more where that came from. To melt your heart, click the dive into a world of inspiring stories of hope on screen, empathy, and fortitude.